Zelda Breath of the Wild does not feature a female playable character, no Linkle, no gender option for Link, just Link, and he's a male. Aonuma said that the team discussed the possibility, but ultimately they decided if they're gonna have a female character, it's simpler for her to be Zelda. That said, Aonuma specifically designed Link to be androgynous in Breath of the Wild so that both men and women can relate to him. All the rumors from the past few years about female Link, he says, probably indicate that they did a good job on that front. So, from my perspective, I think that this whole female Link discussion is something that sort of slid under the table when everyone saw how incredible Breath of the Wild is, which I think says a lot about what happens to a community when unifying things like the sheer awe of a new game gets tucked away for so long. But for Breath of the Wild in particular, it seems to me very much like certain story elements rely on Link being a character from a previous moment in Hyrule's history, whether that's a game that we've already played or just something that they'll explore in Breath of the Wild or maybe even in a future game. It seems to me like that is an important factor. So even though I think it's unfortunate that there's no gender option or anything like that, I completely respect those creative decisions, and I'm going to reserve my judgment until we actually know more about the game. That said, though, Aonuma's explanation is really weak, and I have a hunch that that is because they just don't want to reveal too much about those story elements, but I can totally see why the people who want some kind of gender option are not satisfied with this answer, that we just, well, it would be Zelda, wouldn't it? And I think they could have easily solved that by just saying, look, Link may be an avatar in some games, he may have been an avatar in the older days, but in this particular game, he is a character. His name is Link. You can't change that. He's male. You can't change that. This is the story we wanted to create, but maybe one day we'll make something else.
Yeah, for me, it's one of those things where you can't really knock the execution because the way that they've established the image of Link up to this point, it's true that tons of people have connected with that, both male and female. So there's nothing really wrong with the character they're using and the depiction they're using. It's just, with all these breaking conventions that they've been saying that they're going to be doing with this game, it's kind of disappointing to see that this, of all things, was one that they kept, and to look at their reasons, of one of which was, the Triforce requires Link to be a male. I mean, that's how it sounds.
Well, yeah, that part was a little skimpy. It didn't really seem like there was a full translation of what he was saying as far as the Triforce goes. Yeah. But yeah, that one was really weird.
It just doesn't seem like they really had a good reason. And you might be right. The story might bear out that there's a good reason. Like, one kind of theory I've seen swirling around is that this Link is actually like the dead Link from the Downfall timeline that leads to A Link to the Past. Yeah,
which I think is super cool. I love that idea.
Yeah, and that wouldn't really work because Ocarina of Time Link doesn't have a female option.
Right.
But if that's not the story thread, then anything goes. So.
Sure.
I find their explanation that the story can't allow it to be kind of weird. As for the suggestion that if there's a female playable character, it should be Zelda, I'm not sure I agree, and the reason why I'm not sure I agree is because while Zelda's a cool character and she's fun to play, like in Hyrule Warriors and in Smash Bros., for example, I think that one convention that they should keep is the kind of gameplay that we get when we play as Link. And I think if they were to make Zelda a playable character, it would either cheapen the character of Zelda to make her play like Link, or it would not be really an authentic Zelda game if it were the Star Wars Zelda. You know what I mean? So I don't know that that's...
the language made it sound like they were talking about, if they were to have Zelda as a playable character, it would be like in a spin-off game, because Aonuma was saying, well, then what would Link do? But I could also be misinterpreting that.
Yeah, it sounds that way to me too, and I just don't see that as a satisfying answer.
Sure, yeah, and I can understand that. Hello everybody, thank you for listening to this Nintendo Week clip, NWC. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to us here on YouTube for more highlights and discussion videos from Nintendo Week podcast, or subscribe to us on iTunes for weekly breakdowns of all your Nintendo news, discussion segments on subjects, games, and more, and tons of other features. Thanks for listening, and we will see you tomorrow with another NWC.